Inside Catherine's most emotional Christmas concert, yet hidden moments revealed. Every December, when the nights grow long and frost decorates the palace windows with silver lace, the world waits for one of the most magical events on the royal calendar. Catherine's Christmas Carol concert at Westminster Abbey. Soft candlelight, echoes of angelic choir voices, the gentle hush of 1,000 people waiting in awe. But this year's concert, Catherine's most emotional to date, held a secret warmth, a deeper meaning, and tender moments the world never saw. Until now, what unfolded inside the ancient stone walls of Westminster Abbey was far more than a royal event. It was a celebration of kindness, togetherness, and the quiet strength that Catherine carries like a hidden star beneath her crown. And now, at last, those heartwarming new details can be revealed. The Abbey stood like a fairy tale fortress in the cold December air, its great wooden doors illuminated by soft golden lights. Snowflakes drifted lazily through the night sky, as if even the weather had been choreographed by the Princess of Wales herself. Inside, volunteers placed more than 3,000 candles, lining the nave, pillars, and windowsills. The lights flickered like 1,000 tiny hearth fires, turning the vast stone cathedral into something intimate, almost like a family living room. A royal aide later confessed, Catherine wanted warmth, not grandeur. She wanted the Abbey to feel like home. And she succeeded. Though the cameras captured her radiant confidence, Catherine began the night with her hands gently clasped, steadying her breath. It had been an emotional year, one filled with scrutiny, health worries, and constant public pressure. But this concert was her creation, her message, her gift to the world. As she stood behind the Abbey's great archway moments before walking in, Prince William whispered to her, "You've made something beautiful. Just enjoy it." Catherine softened, smiled, and finally exhaled the breath she'd been holding. The choir began their first soft notes, and the princess stepped forward into the candlelit aisle. The applause that erupted felt like a warm embrace. The children's secret role. Though the Wales children were not formally part of the program, George, Charlotte, and Louis played a surprisingly sweet part behind the scenes. Earlier that day, while Catherine was reviewing the final lighting cues, Charlotte tugged at her mother's sleeve. "Mummy," she whispered, "can we add something from us?" Catherine knelt down, surprised. "What did you have in mind?" George held out an envelope decorated with tiny snowflakes drawn in blue pen. "It's a wish," he said shyly, "for the people who come tonight." Inside, written in Charlotte's neat handwriting, was a simple line. "We hope you feel loved." Catherine's eyes glistened. And so, that evening, tucked quietly inside each guest's order of service was a card printed with those very words, signed simply, G, C, and L. The audience adored it, even before knowing it came from the Wales children. This year's most powerful moment came from an unexpected guest, a young nurse named Ella, who had worked tirelessly through the year's most difficult hospital seasons. Catherine had personally chosen her. Ella stepped up to the lectern with trembling hands and began reading a letter written by one of her patients, a little girl who loved Christmas, but spent her final one in the hospital. The letter read, "Thank you for holding my hand when I was scared. Thank you for helping my mummy not cry. Thank you for making my world warm." The Abbey fell still. Even the air seemed to pause. Catherine, seated in the front row, bowed her head. A single tear slipped down her cheek, catching the candlelight. Later, backstage, she hugged the young nurse tightly and whispered, "You reminded us all why we gather here. You reminded us of kindness." Of course, no Wales family event is complete without a moment of Louis-style chaos. During the rehearsal the day before, the little prince had been enchanted by the giant bell ropes hanging near the Abbey entrance. They swayed faintly as the wind moved through the tower. Louis pointed up eagerly. "Can I ring it?" "Just once." A verger gently explained that the bells were scheduled by the Abbey and not exactly meant for 6-year-old royal hands. Louis accepted this. For about 10 minutes. Then, while the choir rehearsed once in Royal David City, a huge booming bell suddenly clanged through the building, startling half the performers. Everyone froze. And then, slowly, every head turned toward Louis, whose small hands were still gripping the rope, eyes wide with innocent triumph. Charlotte groaned dramatically. George whispered, "Louis," in the exact tone William often uses. And Catherine had to press her lips together so she wouldn't burst into laughter. That moment didn't make the television broadcast, but it made the Wales family giggle all evening. One of the most touching details of the concert was one the public didn't know. Catherine selected every carol based on memories from her own childhood in Bucklebury. When she met with the music director weeks earlier, she had brought a handwritten list. Silent Night, her mother Carol's favorite. Away in a Manger, the one she used to sing with Pippa at bedtime. The Holly and the Ivy, the carol her father played on cassette every Christmas morning. "These songs made me feel safe," she told the music team. "I want other families to feel that too." That intention was woven into the very heart of the night. Near the end of the evening, as the final hymn began, something unscripted happened. Catherine rose from her seat, and William, without hesitation, reached out and gently took her hand. It was brief, no grand gesture, just a quiet squeeze that spoke of partnership, love, and shared resilience after a difficult year. One guest described it later. It was the moment the whole Abbey warmed. William rarely shows affection in public, but that night felt different, softer, more intimate, more deeply connected. The final performance of the evening came from a children's choir Catherine had personally invited. Before walking on stage, the choir director gathered the students in a circle. "Tonight's performance," he told them, "is dedicated to the princess. Not for her title, not for her fame, but because," he explained, "she believes in the power of children to give hope." The children sang "O Holy Night" with such purity that several attendees openly wept. As the final note soared into the ancient rafters, Catherine pressed her hand to her heart. Those close to her said they had never seen her look quite so moved. A private family moment after the cameras left. When the concert ended and the cameras were packed away, the Wales family remained in the Abbey for a few quiet minutes. George wandered up the aisle, running his fingers lightly along the polished wood of the pews. Charlotte traced patterns in the wax strips of the melted candles. Louis tried, unsuccessfully, to resist sneaking near the bell ropes again. Catherine gathered them near the choir stalls. "Do you know why we do this?" she asked softly. Charlotte replied, "To help people feel happy." George added, "And to remind them they're not alone." Louis said proudly, "And to sing really loud." Catherine laughed, pulling them into a warm hug. "All of those things," she whispered. "Exactly those things." William slipped his arm around her shoulders.